Hello, and welcome to the next upload in my new series, How to Spot the Signs. Thank you for joining me. It's very nice to be here with you. Wherever you are in the world, I hope that you're having a really good day, a good night, a good morning, whatever time it is. Hello. I was was recently told that people use my chats as a way of falling asleep sometimes as an SMR type thing, like a soothing type thing. So hello. I do actually speak quite fast at times. I do suffer a little bit from that Gemini complex or the Sagittarian complex where I do cover a lot of ground in a very short space of time, and I kind of expect others to keep up with me. And I have an Aries moon in my chart anyway, and today we're talking about Aries. So we're talking about the ram, okay? So not the goat, not the sea goat, which is the goat with half fish, half goat going up the mountain, the Capricorn. We are talking about the Aries, the fire sign. That's what we're looking at today, and it's going to be good. So I'm going to try and share some things with you that you probably don't already know, because there's so many videos out there these days, and astrology and study of spiritual science and the occult has become such like a generic thing, I guess. So that being said, welcome. Please consider subscribing to my channel. By all means, leave a comment below. I'd love to know your thoughts on the video uploads. Do they help you? Do they not help you? I also have a series of videos that I have done on all of the signs. Some of them are more heavy duty than others. The Cold Hard Truth series. I've also done the Venus series, which was all of the signs in love, how to date all of the signs, how to get an Aries to fall in love with you, how to get a Cancer to like you, that type of thing. And I've also done a light side series. And now we're doing how to spot the signs. So the energetic signature of an Aries is very strong. And yes, what you look like is also determined astrologically by your chart as well. There's no coincidences here. And it was interesting. I was listening to a scientist who's really interested in the astrology codes of stuff. And he said there are over 400,000 potential codes of a human in terms of genetic codes, which are endless, but in astrological terms of all of the different houses and positions and all of that stuff. So we know that there is far more to astrology than just, sun sign astrology. Someone going, I am an Aries. It's like, this is a fork. No, we know that there's so many aspects of it. So if you're new to astrology, giving you the breakdown, the sun sign is your outer world, how the world sees you, your ego. And sadly, that is actually true in the sense that most people that don't have a sense of self in a modern world will operate purely from that perspective. So kind of like scratching the surface. Have you ever met a lot of people, probably I meet them every day at work, wherever you go, and you just see there's just nothing going on beyond the physical, beyond the superficial. That's most people. We know that most people are NPCs. But if you're watching my channel, listening to my channel, then you probably are looking for something a bit deeper and trying to understand, the mysteries of things like this, which is what I do. I love this stuff. It's my passion. So your moon sign is your inner world, your most private world, the parts of the vulnerability, the subconscious mind of you. And then you have your rising sign. And the rising is very, very strong. And I will be talking about the rising sign. I have a rising in Aries, and I will be talking about how anyone who has a rising in Aries or a sun or moon in Aries, this will apply to you. Why? Because Aries in the first house is like life. It is coming into the world, and it is rebirth, birth, and wide-eyed and fascinated. And the placement of Aries, no matter what house it's placed in, whether it's in the second house, the third house, what's the first house is, Aries, second house is Taurus. It's very, very strong. This is a very, very strong energy. So that being said, a lot of Aries take a lot of flack. A lot of Aries take a lot of hate, a lot of heat, a lot of people kind of, as Americans might say, macking on Aries, playing, talking trash on Aries, that type of thing. I totally understand why. And we all know that this is a straight shooting energy. It is very domineering. It's very masculine. It's sitting in the outer push, the outer reach of things. It is not a receptive energy. That being said, it would be the most interesting Aries that I come across would always have oppositions in their chart to whatever their sun is. So if their sun sign is in Aries and you meet them and they've got a moon in Pisces, well, that would be a more receptive energy. Okay, so polarity is contrast in this universe or in this world. All things are based on polarity. We have to have black and white. We have to have good and evil. We have to have tall and short. Everything has to have like the Libra thing. This planet Earth, is the sister planet to Venus. And Venus is ruled by Libra, and Libra is about balance. Okay, so that being said, if you eat too much of the same thing, you will die. If you're too forceful, that's not good. If you're too passive, that's not good. So it's about balance, and that's what the energies of most charts are. When I look at a chart, the first thing I usually do is look at where are the placements placed on the pie graph. Are they all in the fire? Are they all in the earth? Is this person very grounded? Okay, is this person all in the water? Are they all really watery and kind of wishy-washy and emotional? So it depends. It's all subject to placements, but the domination of an Aries in your chart will affect pretty much everything, because your rising sign is like the mood that you're in, the personality that you really have. It's the lens that you see the world through. Okay, so that being said, first things first, when you see an Aries face, you don't forget their faces. If you look at my energy and my face and how I'm talking, I'm very direct. I don't like wishy-washy. I don't like in the middle. I see weakness and indecisiveness or passivity, or I see anything that's kind of ambiguous as weak. And that does not inspire to me as an Aries rising person any level of strength or structure. So I hope that makes sense. So we need all of the aspects of the pentagram. We need earth, air, fire. We need the thinking in the wind. And we need, of course, the spirit. Aries has a lot of spirit. Aries is fire. It is determination. It is passion. And so when you look at their energy in the face of an Aries, you will see a person that can often be mistaken as a Sagittarius. Often they do have a longer shaped face. A lot of Aries people, just getting straight into the crux of this podcast, a lot of them have a gap in between their teeth. Particularly Leo and Aries can have gaps in their teeth in their earlier years, like Elton John, like Madonna. They also have, they're the sign that is most likely to have blue eyes. They have usually very striking eyes, and it is an intensity that is behind the eyes that wants to move, that wants to do something. This sign and its self-worth in an Aries person is very connected to their productivity. So if there is no mission, if there is no direction, if everything is aimless, then you're going to have a very problematic Aries person. If the Aries, however, has direction and they are moving and they feel that they're going in a direction that's making something happen, then the Aries will be okay. So a depressed Aries or a depressed Sagittarius is a very, very bad thing to behold in the world. Super bad. Also, the reason that Aries take a lot of flack is because, so just cutting it really simply, a lot of Aries people being so much in that masculine rock star, go-getter energy, they don't like wasting time. They don't have time to cuddle you. They don't care necessarily about like your experience. A lot of them are so dedicated to their mission that, you know, someone else's discomfort along the way of the bandwagon journey is usually just like, you know, casualty of war, that type of thing. So don't see it as a negative always. It's just that because a lot of them are not vulnerable. They're not willing to be vulnerable. So hot, quick tip, if you meet an Aries that is willing to be vulnerable, then you've got a good one and you stay with them and you try and keep them around, or they'll keep you around. If you meet an Aries that won't let you in, won't be vulnerable, then how far could this ever really go? All right. So Aries, in terms of love, I've mentioned that before in Venus videos. Life is a conquest. Life is an adventure, like the Sagittarian. Aries see life as kind of like a treasure hunt. Okay, so you better be the treasure. If you're in a relationship with an Aries, it is more than likely that the Aries will be the dominant force in the relationship, even if it's like a woman. And that's why a lot of women that end up like as boss babes or boss bitches or badass bitches or some level of self-employed Aries, which most of them are and should be self-employed anyway, depending on their chart. But you'll come across a lot of Aries women that are basically lesbians and or are very masculine and will enjoy dominating and overriding and even bulldozing everyone around them. They're bossy as hell. They're dominating as hell. This is the spirit of the warrior. So part of Aries incarnation is them realizing, it's not all about you. Aries is the baby of the zodiac. So a baby can't understand anything outside of its own needs. So the baby generally does need a soft place to land. But like I said, this is a very perceptive energy. Aries are very perceptive. They don't like fake people. And even how I'm talking right now, I'm being so fucking direct. And Aries appreciate that. They don't want wishy-washy. The opposite to an Aries would be a Libra. They don't want some kind of long-winded story. They want the facts. They want to get to the root of the problem and they want to snuff it out. Okay? This is a strategic war. Like, think of like a leader battle angel. These guys are come into Earth or come into the human realm ready to go. They're ready to face life. They're ready to lead. They're ready to fight. They have a fighter instinct. So, hot tip, when you meet an Aries that is in alignment with their passion and their purpose, and it could be defending others or truth seeking, if they've got any level of Scorpio or Sagittarius in their chart, that's the one that you'd want to keep around. If you meet, now please listen to me because I'm so very direct about this when it comes to certain signs like Aries or even a Cancer or a Scorpion. If the Aries is on some level of the psychopathy scale and they are like psychopathic or narcissistic on that Machiavellian scale trait, this is a very, very dangerous human being. Okay, not like the Cancer where they'll just be hot and cold and wishy-washy and wear you down and psychologically derail you until you like kill yourself. Aries will kill you themselves. They will go into a bout of rage, and you could end up in hospital. You could end up dead. This is the house with like holes in the wall. If it's an Aries that hasn't mastered anger, that won't access or do any level of shadow work or any level of self-aware conversation with themselves, and won't connect to anything that's spiritual to do with shadow work, then you get away from them, because it's very, very dangerous to be around an Aries person that is in that psychopathy scale, okay? Because Aries is very sexual. And if they're on that narcissistic trait scale, they will live double lives. They will be a closeted man that enjoys doing extreme sex acts to other people, and they'll just come home and their wife or partner, husband, whatever, would never know anything different. Okay, so there is a duality to the Aries, particularly if they're on that level of mental health problem. So I just wanted to put that on the table because I have to say that, all right? And so that's the thing, is that this sign wants to win and it wants to dominate. It is very unlikely that you will meet an Aries energy that will be a sub. These guys are alpha energy. It would be very subjected to their chart of, if you meet an Aries person that is very subservient in the bedroom or subservient in life, I would have to caution you to look at their chart and look at the degrees of placements that all the other aspects in their chart are placed in. So for example, like I do look at degrees, because degrees in someone's chart really, really do matter. If someone's only sitting at like 4 degrees in Aries in their sun sign, and they're sitting at 42.8 degrees in their moon sign in a Libra, well then we're going to see more of a shift in that other aspect. It's all mathematics. I hope that makes sense. That's why maths matter, numbers matter. It's all measurement, yeah? Measurements of energy. So I hope that made sense, and I'm not I'm not confusing you. But if you meet an Aries that really is fighting the good fight, and because they're such a pioneer anyway, once they take up a cause, they are very much like the Energizer Bunny. They, like Gemini, they can produce a lot of video content. This is the sign that wants to go when no one else will go. This is the sign that would have the CIA watching their YouTube channel. This would be the sign that would piss a lot of people off in power. If they're a vigilante type Aries, and they are not obsessed with materiality, then you've got the most amazing soul, and they are on a journey. And for you to have a relationship with them, you're probably not going to be in the initiating driving seat, but you will create a soft place for them to land that they can come home to when the Aries takes off their armor, because we're talking about Mars energy. So they wear armor. And so when an Aries gives you their heart, it's like a warrior that falls in love. They show you their vulnerability, and they can lay down on the floor at your feet and you'll pat their head, and that's what an Aries needs. And then they'll get up, get their sword, and get the fuck back out there on the battlefield. These guys are on the front line. A lot of them end up in the army. A lot of them end up on going over to other countries to fight wars. A lot of them end up as police officers. A lot of them end up in roles that are very physical, and that is just part of their makeup. There is a very physical aspect to an Aries person. Like having sex with them, it's very primal, it's very tribal, it's very intense. If they can integrate your needs into the relationship, then they're providers. If they can't integrate your needs, then the Aries will be more back on the Machiavellian scale, and then it'll all be just about them using you. They don't want intimacy with you. They just want to use you and discard you as quickly as they can and get out of there after the deed is done. So that's one of the things that I just want to put on the table. You won't usually come across an Aries that's somewhere in between, because we're dealing with a cardinal energy that's in a fixed energy. So it's very like black or white. So they're much like Sagittarius. And that's why Sagittarius and Aries can really get along, because that competitive nature of the centaur and the ram, both working together diligently, really can make things happen. This sign wants to make shit happen, and they want authenticity as well. So brutal honesty, they appreciate that. If you were a director on a set and the actor was an Aries, the actor getting feedback from the director would be very much like, just tell me if it was shit, and I'll just tell me what do it again, but make it more sad. That's what the Aries like, things really simple. They don't want long, drawn out, emotional conversations that go on forever. They really are not interested in that. Much like Gemini, they want to get to the bottom of things really quick, and they're kind of usually in a hurry because there's so much that the Aries has to do. A lot of people that incarnate into the sign of the ram, straight up, this will not be an easy ride for you. Same thing with the Capricorn, the sea goat. The ram and the goat get usually some of the hardest paths to pave. Anyone born under Capricorn is born under Satan, which is Saturn, trials and tribulations. Anyone born under Aries is, you're here to rebuild the world, from Sagittarius destroying it with that Kali energy. They're not interested in so when I think of Kali energy, I think of Aries, I think of Sagittarius, because it's not really concerned with the geographical and the logistical things of life. It's more interested in destroying it, smashing it down as quickly as possible, and then we can rebuild the world. But in order to do that, we have to acknowledge that the world that we're in is not what you thought it was. So a lot of them commit themselves to uncovering the mysteries of life and uncovering truth. This sign believes that there is nothing higher than truth. And when the Aries dedicates their life to a cause, they fully body commit to this. All right? They really do. Aries, much like Pisces in their opposites, share a thing that I've noticed where a lot of them will have moments of extreme explosions of energy, and they could go really far in a really short space of time and have like super strength, and then they'll crash and burn on the floor for a week or a day, almost like they've done a ritual. Like it drains all of their energy. And then they'll need days or weeks to recover, and then they come back just as hard and as fast. So it's very high or it's very low. And sometimes it just takes a little spark of enthusiasm or encouragement, and the Aries will be straight back up with the sword in their hand. This is a warrior, okay? This is someone that will lay down their life and fight for the good fight. They will fight for a good cause. They will keep you safe. But much like Scorpio, the darker side of the Mars, if they're not committed to shadow work, is that they will keep you safe from everything but them. All right, so pre-warning, be careful. All right, so this sign will have battle scars. They'll have cuts on the side of their eye. They'll have like a funny nose from the broken nose at the bar, that type of thing, stitches on their chin. They wear their scars because it shows who they are. A lot of them are attracted to power, and they're attracted to Vata, which is the life force that makes things happen in this world. They want people around them that are inspiring, and they want other leaders too. Like they would respect you if you stood up for yourself and jumped out there on the battlefield and went first. Like I said, they're not attracted to weak people. Aries will more than likely see other people as they would want to see people as strong. That's what would turn them on. All right, so I hope that made sense. So they like strength in others and they like strength within themselves. They're very intense. So their eye color is usually, like I said, it's usually they've got a very strong energy in the eyes. Like that blue eye. It's like a whole universe is in their eyeball. When they look out into the world, it's like a baby looking out into the world. A lot of them have very high cheekbones, and usually they come built very, very strongly, like tall, strong limbs, warrior-like energy. Think of the show, I think it was called Blood of Zeus, that was on Netflix. It was an animated series. Think of like the Greek gods, okay, that type of thing. There is a purity. One of the most beautiful things about Aries is that there is a purity to them. They're not zippy dippy like a Fruit Loop, like a fucking Gemini. They are pure beef, if that makes sense. So there is a wide-eyed innocence to how they see the world, and there is a real authenticness to them that is raw, and they like it real. So if they can spot someone who's being insincere or someone who's fake from 10 miles away, and that is the biggest turn off. They want authenticity and they demand that from other people. So they're not going to indulge in someone else being a diva unless they themselves are a diva. A lot of women that, because Aries women can get such a bad rap, but I think it's like that's because there's so much fucking fire in their chart. What did you expect, guys? Like, this is a fire energy. Like, so telling an Aries woman to turn down her passion, it's just like, just shut up. Like, would you rather have a wallpaper person in your life that's weak and meek and indecisive, or would you rather have the structure of a person that knows what they want and they're going after it? You know, I'd rather have a person that's got passion. I'd rather have a person that has, that energy to go out and do stuff, that wants to live. They want to jump off the edge of the diving board. And if you meet an Aries and they're kind of hesitant to jump off the diving board and take the risk, give them a little nudge, give them a push, give them a pep talk, because it's more in their nature to make the jump, to do the thing that they said they were going to do. They're just here to do important stuff. Okay, so whether that's building a business or whether that's setting up a YouTube channel, whatever it is, they're here to do something. The mission is what matters with these guys, and they have a very impactful way. When you walk into a room, these guys make a very deep impression. All right, so they like that. They want to make a deep impression. You know, this is a really powerful energy, and sometimes when people are uncomfortable with themselves, Aries triggers them, because it's like Aries looks at that and they're like, why do I have to, people look at Aries and be like, well, you're too much, you're too much, that type of thing. And Aries would be like, go find less, fuck off. I'm not changing who I am for you because you feel uncomfortable. This is me. This is how I come. I come with all of this exuberance, and I'm just going to jump into life. I'm not going to overthink things. Aries actually really prefer things to be really simple and just straightforward and out on the table. A lot of them don't really enjoy study. A lot of them would rather be out doing something, or they want to summarize things. A lot of the Sagittarian, they don't really want to be in a stuffy room all day paraphrasing information, and then if you said what she said and I say it back, then I get to pass, that type of thing. They are not interested in that. They would challenge the status quo. They would challenge the story that's being presented to them. Okay. Now, with an Aries, depending on the degrees of where they're sitting, I'll give you a clue or a cheat with the Aries. If you meet one born around the spring equinox, that first of all is a very, very powerful day of the year. And it's also where most of the strongest Aries are created when they come into this life. So around springtime, that is a very powerful place where you will find a lot more of the dynamic types of Aries. Okay, if you put an Aries with a Scorpio, if you put an Aries with a Sag, if you put an Aries with a Leo in a chart, then you've got someone with a very brave, courageous determination for life. And so they are here to teach. A lot of them will teach. A lot of them will get up without hesitation. They will put themselves first. They're the hero. They'll jump in. Think of like Xena, warrior princess. Think of the actress Lucy Lawless. She is an Aries. I think she's a triple Aries. And I've always looked at that woman, Lucy Lawless, and that character and always thought, no one in the world could play that character the way that she did, because it really was an extension of her. And when they are committed to something, they really go in there full heart, full mind, and that independent energy where it's like whatever has not been done, whatever has not been faced, whatever has not been challenged in the world, that's where Aries go. And that's where they do their best work. No matter what their environment is, they're survivalists. You'll see a lot of them on shows like I Survived, about being like lost at sea from a scuba diving expedition where they were, lost out in the ocean. You might see them on shows like Survivor. I think more Aries people have won that show than any other sign because they are strategic. They know how to navigate. They know how to win people over. And if they've got that communication side in their chart, well, then not only if that's a very powerful person because they can go out and perform and do activities and win things and win challenges and go out there and, wrestle in the mud and headbutt someone, that type of thing. And then the other side of them is able to communicate with people and get things done. So there's a willingness with them. The thing that will mostly come up with the Sagittarius and the Aries is they do have a beautiful optimism to their energy, but a lot of the time it's like they haven't learned how to have them and have other at the same time. So what will generally happen and can happen with an Aries, they go out and do their job around other people, and then they come home and they're fucking destroyed. So that it's trying to compromise self-time, self-care with working with others as a carer within caring for others at the same time. So the quickest way, and I can actually answer to this because I actually have had this thing in my life, the quickest way to do that is to just be authentic as yourself from the very first time you meet someone. And that sets up the tone of how the relationship will play out in the future. So what I'm saying is be you. And if someone else can't handle that, then they weren't meant for you and you just get them out of there and you just keep being you until someone accepts you for how you are. And then that's how it will work. But there should never be any level of an Aries approaching someone where they have to change for someone else to fit the narrative that makes someone else feel comfortable because they're a giant. This is a very powerful, courageous, indomitable force that just innately is very independent and knows how to do shit. These guys will know how to hunt. They'll know how to fish. In their family, as Aries is the first energy in the zodiac, they will be the first to go to university. They'll be the first to study. They'll be the first to talk about things in their family that no one else talked about. It's always like, this is the sign that basically leads the zodiac, okay? And so through their experience and their quickness of movement, that's how they operate. That's how they get stuff done. So it's an accomplishment that they're here. And even if they're doing something really simple, like for example, how to look out for one would be, they might be doing a really simple task like making themselves something to eat in the kitchen, but the way that they will approach it and the way that they look at doing it, it's like they're on a movie set. There's drama to it, there's drama to them sometimes. And so that can come off as a little bit diva-ish, but it's not, it's just their passion. So what is a 10 to an Aries is like a 1 to most, sorry, what is a 10 to other people is like a 1 to an Aries. That's how powerful they are. There's a boom to their voice. There's a boom to their energy. So I hope that made sense. But yeah, they're not interested in notes. And when they love hard. When they fuck hard. It isn't uncommon for an Aries. They won't hold it against you if they meet you and they have sex with you on the first date. They won't see that necessarily as a negative. They'd see it more as fearlessness of going in there and seeing if the sex is good enough to stick around. So I hope that made sense. But they don't see it like a Sagittarius would do that as well. It's sex to have a hello. You know what I mean? It's just how they are, and it's a Mars energy. It's not going to change. They are very territorial at times. That's why a lot of Aries men end up in sales as car salesmen, selling expensive yachts and properties. They know that to have a good life, they need lots of money, and they want to have a feeling of superiority. They want to have a presence. So they know they have to go out there in the world and compete with other people, because in the world, we're all competing with each other for limited resource. So when people say stuff like there's an abundance of everything, Aries knows that is just not true. When you go for a job, other people are going for the same role. So you have to bring something that the others don't have to get you across the line. And Aries know that, and that's exactly what they do. They're unconventional. They'll figure out their own way. This is a unique path that must be walked, but it won't be a generic path, because they're the ones that are kind of paving their way through the jungle, cutting the vines and moving through first. So they're going into the night. They're going into things that others would never go into topics that others would never, ever go into. A lot of occultists and people that, explored a lot of things in the spirituality field, a lot of them would be in the Aries realm, because they would already be wanting to move upwards, not downwards. So they wouldn't be really too concerned overly with materiality and the accumulation of just material things just for the sake of it. They like things with purpose, and that's generally how they see the world. So anyone with an Aries moon, or an Aries rising, is you have to also be independent, and you have to bring something that complements their life, but you can't bring something that they already have. You have to be able to offer companionship, because most relationships with an Aries usually are friends first. I mean, all relationships fundamentally are friendships, but they value that. It's the camaraderie of the journey together more than it is of the ideology of a partnership to an Aries or a Sagittarius. So it better involve travel, and it better involve going into stages and places and environments that push them out of their comfort zones. Because with the ram and with the sea goat, trials and tribulations is what temper the metal. The fire is what melts it and reshapes it. So they go into situations that a normal person would never go into, and it can hurt them and destroy them. But Aries will rebuild themselves again and again and again. And they just don't get up, because it's like Rocky. Like Rocky would be in Aries. It's like that line. It's not about how many times you get knocked down. It's about how many times you get up. from your own self, to have that motivation. So much like Sagittarius, they can create great wealth and then they'll blow it, and then they'll be broke, and then they'll create great wealth again, and then they'll blow it. But a lot of them are businessmen, and if they are on that scale, a lot of them can invent things or make a business that will sustain other people. So ultimately, a lot of them need to be self-employed because they don't, in management or upper management, because they don't want to be trapped on a hamster on a wheel for the rest of their life. They understand that you have to take on the risk of opening a business to have the benefits of getting off the hamster wheel of a salary, because a business can generate more income. A salary can only create, like a regular job can only create a salary. And so if there was like a ceiling to them of how much money they could make, then they would feel trapped. So look for the business suits. A lot of them will dress well because they do need an audience. Yes, like there's nothing wrong with that. They will put in the extra effort in how they present themselves. If it's a really lazy Aries that doesn't take care of their health, that doesn't lift weights, that doesn't go to the gym, that likes to, it really lets themselves go, you stay away from them, all right? There is nothing more destructive in this world than a lazy, self-indulgent Aries. They're no good to anyone. They're no good to themselves, all right? So bear in mind, Aries, the really good ones, they're resilient, they're authentic, and they like authenticity, and that's what they're looking for in others. So when you meet them, look them in the eye, shake their hand, tell them who you are, tell them about your struggles, tell them about how true you are, be true, and that's what they like. They know that this is not easy. And so that struggle and that determination is what ultimately is who they are. And it's a big part of their identity. But yeah, they get a bad rap. And that's why I have to feel that I really want to explain that it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just that the situation or the people that were around them tried to contain them. And Aries don't want to be contained because they are the container, all right? And there's nothing wrong with that, yeah? And so that's why a lot of Aries women get that painted with that brush, and it's really unfair and it's ridiculous. So it's the balance of femininity, receptive energy, and not being overbearing on others. You don't come across a lot of shy Aries, like you don't come across a lot of quiet Geminis. They have something to say. This is an opinionated person that's going to share their thoughts with you. They're going to tell you what they think. What's wrong with that? So it's a beautiful thing. Like that's what they are. They're not going to bend the knee to you. All right. They want expansion. All right. And that's ultimately what we're here for, is for expansion, is to expand. So that would require going out of your comfort zone. No risk, no reward. They know that. So it's a risk-taking energy. So a lot of the Aries men will be on a motorbike. They like to go fast. Everything's quick. They don't like slow. If you're slow, Aries is bye, out the door. So it's keeping them around is interesting, because it's not like you can't bore them. You can't bore them. They get bored of things very quickly, like that restless energy, like the Gem and the Sagittarius. But if they can get past their ego and know that because the thing is, the ego in them will also, the darker side of the Aries is that they'll always start things they'll never finish. So if you can meet an Aries that finishes things that they start, that's a really good sign for a good one. Ultimately, they have a very high forehead, and usually the shape of the skull at the top is usually more pointy in the men. For the Aries women, it's usually a square jaw, big blue eyes, a kind of more poignant nose and high cheekbones, very Amazon looking, very Amazonian energy, very warrior-like, kind of like some of the Aries women actually look like in the cat family, like a panther, a little bit like that. Not like the Leos where they'll actually wear actual cheetah print stuff like a cougar, but that's how they are. And their hair will be quite wavy and thick, quite unruly. Don't tell them what to do. Don't tell them how to dress. Just let them be who they are. And a lot of them will find their way if they're connected to some level of purpose that means something. It's got to mean something, and because they're not going to trade their authenticity for you. Much like Lady Gaga, she's an Aries. There's a real structure to her energy in terms of she won't change who she is. They're like the Energizer Bunny as well. And there's a spontaneity about them where they can shift at any moment, like fire. It burns and goes through things really quick. So they might be laying on the floor and they'll get up and write a song. Then they might go down the street and get something to eat and come back. It's like a storm is inside of them. They're very stormy. Also the same as Russell Crowe. He's an Aries, very perfect example of an Aries energy. He portrays that kind of daddy warrior-like energy that will keep you safe and show you direction and be a little bit of an authority in the way where it's like the father aspect, like the emperor in the tarot card. So it'll be like, if you're misbehaving or if you're being unreasonable, it'll be like, stop that, cut that shit out, that type of thing, which is just how they are. So I hope that made sense. That's how you spot an Aries. Always subject to their chart, but no matter what house they're sitting in, if it's in the first house, then that's the aspect of the Aries that will govern that part of someone's chart in their life, whether it is a family, whether they're sitting in the first house in Aries and that side of their chart, it will be they'll dominate their family, they'll dominate their job, they'll dominate. This is a competitive energy that understands that it's like who gets in first wins. So you've got to get to it first. They've got great ideas and they usually start off these big pep talks and these big meetings where everything's starting, but it's generally about trying to finish it at the end and trying to see things through. And that's where Aries, sometimes they need help and they need people around them that are more technical than they are to oversee the idea and then bring it into the world. They'll put themselves in danger as well in their jobs. Like a lot of them will take jobs on where they travel to war zones, or they'll go to places that are we're trying to give disenfranchised people a voice. But yeah, they'll get out their phone, they'll record, they'll go there. It's just, it's really cool. So I hope this all makes sense. This was how to spot the energy of an Aries. Bring your fucking A game. If you want to fight, it's a fight. Let's go there. A lot of the Aries men will do martial arts or kickboxing, weight training. They've got a lot of energy, and that energy has to go somewhere in the physical world. It can't just sit inside of them. They've got to expel that energy. So a lot of the Aries people need swimming or cardiovascular workouts, which will really make them feel deeply connected more to their body. And that will give them peace. Aries, after they've expelled a lot of their energy, there's a placid side to them as well, a playful side, the joker side to them as well. All right. Lots of love. I hope that you've enjoyed this video. Please consider subscribing to my channel. Leave a comment below. Let me know. Are you an Aries? Did this describe you? What do you think? I want to know. I'd love to hear. All right, I'll leave it here. Thank you so much. Okay, bye.